The Kiat partnership between the governments of Australia and Indonesia aims to support sustainable and inclusive economic growth through improved access to infrastructure for all people. We all play a role in achieving this goal, including understanding that how we go about achieving improved access to infrastructure for all people is just as important. Kiat has a responsibility to operate ethically and protect the health, safety, and well-being of all who are involved and impacted by our work. This includes Kiat staff, contractors and their subcontractors, and the communities we work for and with. All projects have the potential to cause harm to the environment and people. We need to take all necessary actions to prevent harm to people or the environment. How do we do that? CARDNO, DFAT and Kiat have standards, policies, planning and implementation mechanisms, and compliance systems that describe how activities should be carried out to protect people and the environment from harm. Those are called safeguards. Safeguarding focuses on preventing and addressing harm caused by the organization and the people in the organization. In other words, do no harm. What are we safeguarding? The specific topics are 1. Environmental protection. 2. Vulnerable and disadvantaged groups, for example, children, women, elderly, and people with disability. 3. Displacement and resettlement. 4. Indigenous peoples. 5. Health and safety. There has been a specific emphasis on protecting children and prevention of sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment in international work. We, as Kiat workers and subcontractors, hold a position of power. For instance, a Kiat activity will decide which houses will get a connection to the sewage system or clean water. This will influence how people perceive us. They might feel obliged to let workers, surveyors or evaluators in their house, even if they feel unsafe. As part of our GEDSA strategy, we want to include women, disabled people, and other excluded groups in community meetings and participatory processes. This is essential to get their voice heard. However, we need to make sure that they can safely join and participate. It is not enough to invite groups that have been excluded before. If they are not prepared or feel unsafe, and if they are not able to express themselves in a way that others expect and understand, we might strengthen negative stereotypes and do more harm than good. Remember, all projects have the potential to cause harm to the environment and people. When looking specifically at the impact on people, harm and abuse caused by a project can include 1. Abuse by staff or people contracted by the organization. 2. Communities can experience violence and abuse within families or the wider community. When a project arrives to work with a community, the project itself can worsen existing patterns of harm and abuse, or bring new forms of harm. For example, tensions and jealousy, if it is not clear why certain members of the community are receiving services such as access to water, sewage connection, training, etc., whilst others are not. Communications and media, which can bring new and unwanted attention to the community or to individuals within the community. For instance, when a story about an individual shares their personal details or stories, or reinforces negative stereotypes. Kiat's safeguarding mechanisms are built around the safeguarding cycle: identify, prevent, report, respond, and learn. Over the next months, you will learn more about that in the Environment and Social Management Framework, or ESMF. What do we need to do? You can pay attention to the specific situations where there is contact with communities. Be aware of potential opportunities to do harm, and what the different members of the community need to feel safe. You can do this by checking the safeguards risk level for your activity. Make sure mitigation and protection measures are in place in line with the risk levels. If the risk level for child protection, or SEER, is medium or higher, you will need to implement a number of minimum requirements. The Safeguard Specialist has a number of tools to help you do that. Contact safeguards@kiat.or.id. Kiat staff and contractors will need to work together to ensure the minimum requirements are in place. It is everyone's responsibility to safeguard and to prevent, report on and respond to harm that occurs to the environment, children, and vulnerable people. Kiat has zero tolerance to abuse, harassment, and exploitation. We also have zero tolerance to inaction. That means that we expect you to report any suspicions of safeguards non-compliance. How? You can reach out to your line manager or the Safeguards Specialist on safeguards@kiat.or.id. Stay safe. Be safe. Make Kiat a safe environment.